She doesn't belong here. A black woman in first class? Check her ticket again. There's no way it's hers. The first-class cabin buzzed with soft conversations, the occasional clink of glasses, and the rustling of newspapers. Passengers lounged in their spacious seats, some scrolling through their phones, others enjoying complimentary drinks, completely unaware that their flight was about to become an unforgettable experience. In Seat 2C, a woman sat by the window, composed and quiet. Her name was Maya Caldwell. Her demeanor was calm, her expression unreadable. She blended in seamlessly, dressed in simple yet elegant attire. Dark trousers, a crisp blouse, and a delicate silver bracelet. Nothing about her screamed status or wealth, and that was exactly how she preferred it. Maya wasn't just another first-class traveler. She wasn't just another executive on a business trip. She owned the airline. But Eleanor Pierce, a senior flight attendant known for her strict adherence to rules, had no idea. And in mere moments, her entire world would shift. The steady hum of the engines filled the first-class section, blending with the muted chatter of well-dressed passengers. Maya glanced out the window, watching as the last of the luggage was being secured. She had taken this route countless times, always following the same approach: no special requests, no extravagant displays of wealth. She was just another traveler. But Eleanor saw her differently. With sharp, observant eyes and a posture that exuded authority, Eleanor patrolled the aisle, ensuring that everything in first class met the expected standards. She had spent nearly 2 decades enforcing the exclusivity of this space, making sure that only those who truly belonged were seated here. As she neared 2C, something made her pause. A flicker of doubt crossed her mind as she studied Maya. Her expression tightened, her professional instincts kicking in. "Excuse me, ma'am," Eleanor said, her voice polite but firm. "May I see your boarding pass?" Nearby, passengers subtly turned their heads, sensing the tension. Maya raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. She glanced around. No one else was being asked the same question. But she didn't argue. With quiet confidence, she reached into her handbag, retrieved the ticket, and handed it over. Eleanor examined it. First class. 2C. Everything was in order. And yet, something in her hesitated, as if her instincts refused to accept what was in front of her. "Are you sure this is your seat?" Eleanor asked, her voice carrying an edge of skepticism. Maya inhaled slowly, keeping her tone even. "That's what my ticket says." A noticeable shift in the atmosphere followed. A few seats away, Jonathan Wells, a well-dressed businessman, lowered his wine glass, his attention now fully on the exchange across the aisle. Isabel Carter, a woman flipping through a lifestyle magazine, peeked over the pages, her lips slightly pursed. The weight of silent judgment hung in the air. Maya extended her hand. "If there's a problem, I'd like my ticket back." For a brief moment, Eleanor's fingers held on to it just a little too long. Then, with a clipped nod, she returned it. "Enjoy your flight," she said tersely before walking away. Maya tucked the ticket into her bag, exhaling slowly. She assumed that was the end of it. She was wrong. An hour later, the aircraft had reached cruising altitude. Most passengers had settled in, some immersed in movies, others dozing off. The earlier tension had faded, blending into the white noise of the flight. Or so Maya thought. Eleanor returned. This time, her steps were firmer, her presence more commanding. She halted beside 2C, drawing fresh attention from those around. "I need you to come with me," Eleanor said. Maya looked up, her expression calm but guarded. "Is there a problem?" Eleanor folded her arms. "We need to have a conversation. Privately." The shift in tone was unmistakable. Maya removed an earbud. "If there's something to discuss, you can say it here." Eleanor's nostrils flared slightly. "This isn't a request." Maya remained seated. "And if I decline?" Eleanor's lips pressed into a thin line. "Then I'll have security meet us when we land." A murmur rippled through the cabin. Jonathan set his drink aside, his brows lifting in curiosity. Isabel closed her magazine entirely, now fully engaged in the unfolding drama. Before Maya could respond, another flight attendant arrived. Rachel Adams, young, new to the team, still untainted by years of rigid rule enforcement. She hesitated as she looked between them. "Is there a problem?" Rachel asked cautiously. Eleanor answered before Maya could. "She's refusing to comply." Rachel blinked in confusion. "With what?" For the first time, Eleanor hesitated. Maya's gaze was unwavering. "She hasn't actually explained why she's asking me to move," she said. "Maybe we'd all like to hear the reason." More passengers tuned in now, some watching openly, others pretending not to while clearly listening. Rachel glanced at Eleanor. "Eleanor, what's going on?" A beat of silence stretched between them. Then Eleanor straightened her shoulders. "I don't believe she belongs in this seat." A sharp scoff came from a few rows back. Isabel rolled her eyes. "You can't be serious." Rachel's face paled. "You already checked her ticket." Whispers spread through the cabin. Eleanor stood her ground. "I need to verify it again." Maya's lips parted slightly. Not in shock, but in realization. Slowly, she reached into her bag, held up the ticket for everyone to see. "Take another look." Eleanor hesitated, but Rachel reacted first, plucking the ticket from Maya's hand. She skimmed it. A second later, she exhaled sharply. "She's in the right seat." Passengers exchanged glances. Jonathan smirked, shaking his head slightly that Eleanor's fingers twitched. She swallowed hard, and then she made a mistake. She reached out and grabbed Maya's arm that a collective gasp swept through the cabin. Several passengers sat up straighter. Rachel's face drained of color. Eleanor quickly withdrew her hand. Too late. Maya tilted her head slightly. Not with anger, not with fear, but with something far more unsettling. Absolute control. Calmly, she picked up her phone, pressed a single button, and brought it to her ear. And when she spoke, her voice was steady, precise, and impossible to ignore. "This is Maya Caldwell, CEO of Caldwell Airlines. We have a situation on Flight 708. The cabin fell into stunned silence. Eyes widened. Breaths caught. And in that instant, Eleanor Pierce realized she had just ruined her own career. As the weight of Maya's words settled over the cabin, the air grew thick with realization. Passengers exchanged wide-eyed glances, some whispering to their seatmates, others simply absorbing the moment in stunned silence. Eleanor, once so firm in her authority, now stood frozen. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard, her hands clenching and unclenching at her sides. The consequences of her actions unraveled before her eyes. The intercom crackled. "Miss Caldwell, this is Captain Mitchell Hayes. We've been informed of an incident. Is everything all right?" Maya's gaze never wavered from Eleanor. "I'll be speaking with you upon landing." The words carried no anger, no raised voice. Just undeniable finality. Eleanor exhaled sharply, her shoulders sagging as the reality set in. A once respected career, now in jeopardy, because of one misguided assumption. Maya leaned back into her seat, slipping an earbud in. As if nothing had happened. The flight continued. But for Eleanor Pierce, nothing would ever be the same.